Welcome to the Burn Boot Camp podcast, where you'll find the motivation, inspiration, and empowerment that leads to real transformation, the lifelong kind. Keep listening and keep moving, Burn Nation.
This is an opportunity for you guys, for us to just another avenue for transparency. You know, I stood on the stage at Summit and said, listen, I want you to know everything that I know. You know, all the information, all the tools. I want to do my best to give you all the knowledge that I have and to set you up for success as best as I possibly can. And I figured the more avenues that we could open, the more information that we could share, and the more in line we would be. So from regional trainings to family meetings to coffee with the clients. We do this, by the way, we call it coffee with the clients just as like our brand for like a Q&A. We do this at the gyms too. So when we come to your gym, what we'll be doing from now on is like inviting your members in too, and taking some mics, and oftentimes we'll have the franchise partners come up with us if they're willing, and maybe a trainer or two and a member or two, and just do it like a Q&A and a panel. So you don't get a panel, you just get me today. So I'm sorry about that. But with that being said, there's nothing off limits. If I don't know it, I don't know it. If I'm not here to answer or solve problems, I think, answer questions that I know, but I'm here to discover problems too. I think that's a good way to put it. So don't feel like you have to hold anything back. The culture that I want to have at the franchise partner level is I want it to be even deeper than the culture that we have at the member level, right? Because there's more at stake. There's more online. Who took a risk to be here in this room, right? At one point was like your heart rate jumped through your head because of the financial risk that you're taking for you and your family, right? Like I thought about that too. Every time, I make plans to invest $3 million into 5 locations 2,000 miles away, I also have those thoughts, right? So we are on the same page in terms of, the mission and the love for the mission, but also the risks that are involved when, we have LLCs and we have so much exposure to our LLCs, to the nature of the franchise agreement in general. And so anyhow, with that being said, I am wide open. Does anybody want to go ahead and start? We have some people who are also online, some HQ crew. What's up? And then Sandra and Abby. So welcome. So if you guys ever want to just chime in with something, there's a little hand. Just hit the little yellow hand. I'll keep checking on you. But does anyone want to start?
Can you elaborate on your responsibilities as the visionary of
Yes.
Burn Boot Camp?
Yes, I would love to elaborate on my responsibilities as the visionary. A couple of key things that I am doing, a couple of key philosophies, and then a couple of key things that I'll be doing. So first and foremost, I'll be spending a lot more time with you all, right? Doing things like this, connecting, helping you see the vision, helping you crystallize and form your own vision. As we become a more mature brand, and the environment continues to be conducive to our brand growing like it traditionally has been, well, we're going to be able to reap more financial benefits from that. And so what do we do with that money? Like, what do we do when we have money? And a lot of times in a franchise organization like ours, where we champion men and women and families, a lot of times that other brands wouldn't roll the dice on because of the maybe lack of history in economics and business and maybe experience, right? And so I feel like I have a fiduciary responsibility to our franchise partners that are making money to help coach and guide and mentor them on how to reinvest, right? But also through the lens of their vision and their motivation, not in like a salesy way where I'm trying to push development, right? I'm not worried about selling out the inventory in the United States. That's not the goal. The goal is to change the lives of the people that have changed mine. And right now, that's all of you internally who are already on the other side of this thing. So getting to our game plan, right, which is to have world-class unit economics, but also sell out domestically with, in reality, as few people as possible, if I'm being honest, right? So setting all of that up, right? And then also the strategic future. So I talked to the Burn University group about primary aim and strategic objective. Who remembers that conversation from Monday? Okay, Tina, since we're talking now, what is primary aim? Just give us an idea of what that is.
It's like
Use that mic too, if you don't mind.
So
We're making
primary
movies,
aim,
Tina.
Just in my own words. like the ultimate end goal, like why you're doing all of this, like where do you individually or, personally, selfishly, whatever, where you want to get to by doing all of this.
Mm-hmm. So your primary aim, right? Like, what's the business serving? It's got to serve you, and it's got to serve your own personal goals, and it's not a selfish thing to realize that, or else you're just blindly building something and you don't know what it's actually serving. Tina, what after we talked this week, and one of the things you said, you spoke up during our champagne toast was your primary aim. Would you mind sharing it one more time in front of the group? Yeah, please. Yeah, of course.
I want to travel the world, essentially, a new place every month or every couple of weeks, and my kids share the same excitement to do that, and that's hella expensive to be buying all those plane tickets, so I need, money to be able to do that. So that's ultimately what I want to be able to do, that financial freedom, to be able to just move about the country as I want to or about the world as I want to. But that doesn't take away from my passion and energy and drive that I want to do with Burn Bootcamp every day. It's just like when I see myself retired, not working for anybody or anything anymore. That's what I would do.
My primary aim is to retire when I'm 54 and bring a MLB expansion team to the Carolinas. And I know that to do that, it's going to be about $2.5 billion. You can call me crazy if you want. I already know there's a very low likelihood that ever happens, but there's a possibility, there's a chance, and I feel like I have one, and I can see the light at the end of the tunnel, and I'm going to do everything that I can and be unashamed and unapologetic about standing on that ground. And the only way that you stand on that ground in this organization is world-class economics for you so that you can make money, so that you reinvest and validate the brand so that we all grow. And so the primary aim is very important. Most people won't say what they actually really want. It's not selfish. Your primary aim is much different than your purpose. Your primary aim is your return on your investment, and your purpose is your return on your impact. That's the way I think about it. They're separate things. It's like happiness and satisfaction. Who's been really happy but also dissatisfied at the same time? You can be those things simultaneously. So that's, to me, what primary aim does for us, is it just objectifies what the business is for. Like, why the hell are we building this thing in the first place? And it's okay to be selfish about it, right? It's okay. On the way to that $2.5 billion in cash to bring a team to the Carolinas, I'm going to have to help generate millions of dollars for thousands of other people. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with Jeff Bezos making $168 billion every year, owning 16% of Amazon, because he's made $784 billion for other people. Right? And so you have to be able to have the confidence to say what you really want and bring that forth. And then the second thing that we talked about was your strategic objective. And that answers the question, what does the business look like when it's done? So if your primary aim is your own personal goal, the business is supposed to serve that primary aim, then what is your strategic objective? Meaning, what does the business look like when it's done? And that's where 10,000 units comes from for us. I need that type of volume in order to reach the primary aim. And I need that type of longevity. 54, that'd be 30 years committed to one single brand, one single entity. And that's just like my subjective throw it out there date. Like, I'll probably be like 94 in this brand, like rocking a mic, So I forgot your question. But it had something to do.
You want me to say into the mic?
Yes. So it's something to do with that, and I'll bring it back.
Elaborate on your visionary job description.
Yes.
Or
So
responsibilities.
it is my job to teach those two things to all of you at scale, and then to get you clarity, confidence, and certainty in going to achieve that. Right? So it's going to manifest itself in two ways, and I'm just going to be transparent because I'm only one person. I spend my one-on-one time with the top 20% of earners, right? Because they're the ones that are going to have the cash to be able to really go with me, all right? And then my other time, 20% of the time, I'm going to spend that with groups. I'm going to spend that with groups of people, and I'm going to tell you exactly how to do it, right? And what the steps are, and then you come to me when you're ready if you want to continue to expand and burn with a portfolio of, what we call a CIM, a confidential information memorandum, that I will be teaching some of our franchise partners who have bigger cash flow portfolios. I'll be teaching them how to build those, and then how to interact with financial institutions, which I will be also setting up. Think of me as like a bridge between our are people who are really cash flowing really, really well, and then those banks that want to see Burn Boot Camp like go to the moon, right? Because we're going to need help to go as fast as we want to, and you're all going to need help as well. So that's a couple things, and then a couple like specific tactics. Like I said, I want to be very transparent with you, and all this stuff is just starting. It's just starting. Hi, Singer and I were talking. Where's he at? Is he around here somewhere? Oh, he did. Oh, well, he bought 11 locations with us. Right? And so I'm already talking about this with him like 4 years out of having all of that manifested just to make sure that we are staying on track. Make sense? Cool. Awesome. So that's part of it. And then the other part of it, let's see, is the strategic objective actually built out. Okay? Like what is it in the next 36 months? So when you guys talk about the Burn operating system, right? The only two things that I like to preach outside of the Burn operating system is those personal things that I just talked about. That, those are for you and I. The primary aim and the strategic objective, those actually come from a book called E-Myth by Michael Gerber. Anybody read that book, E-Myth by Michael Gerber? Read that book because it really is the founding father to EOS, which you should be reading all of the EOS books first, by the way. What are they? Traction, Rocket Fuel, How to Be a Great Boss. That's the three we like, right?
Those are the three primary. There's process one coming out
That one.
next month, and there is what the heck is EOS?
Yeah, that one.
You can share with your teams so that they understand the role that they play in the Burn operating system.
Yep. So yeah, the Burn operating system is everything, right? And so inside of the Burn operating system, now you have your own vision, right? And you have a VTO. Who's heard the term VTO? Okay, so VTO, if you haven't heard the term VTO, this is where what I'm about to talk about will manifest itself. In the VTO, you have a 10-year vision, which you guys heard. You guys heard me do this on stage at Summit if you were at Summit. I did the 10-year, I did the 3-year, and then Morgan did the 1-year, right? So the 10-year was kind of to the moon. It's aspirational. You have no freaking idea how you're going to get there, but it's a big enough dream that everyone else can fit their dream inside of. That's really important to understand. Because if you don't, then people can't be more ambitious than me in this brand, and that's a responsibility that I bear. And it's hard because there's a lot of ambitious people that are like, hey, I have 10 units already. Can you please teach me the multi-unit model? I'm like, we have 6 in one area. I can't quite do that yet. We're working on it though. We're working on it. So you have primary aim, you have your strategic objective that feeds into your VTO, and that's the Burn operating system, all right? So I don't want to confuse you in terms of like talking about these other things. The Burn operating system is everything, and the VTO, that 3-year plan, the 3-year plan is very, very important for you to focus on as a franchise partner. Okay, that's where the real vision will manifest itself. You can't just plan out 1 year. That's not long enough. You're going to plan with Nicole and our FBCs. You're going to plan all your KPIs and your goals and like your structure of what you're going to go after for the next year. But your 3-year, that's your time to strategize. That I like to go one level deeper and say, what is your next 15 moves? If you could put from now until 36 months out by month and by date, what are the 15 milestones that you are basically going to imagine and make up to get to where you want to go to impact your top and your bottom line revenue? So I have this for the organization, and I share that with my leadership team. And that gives them anticipation into the future so that we know where we're all going, and then they can solve the problem on how to get there. And a lot of people get really fired up when you give them complex problems to solve, because my 15 moves going to 10,000 locations, there's some pretty complex problems that we have to solve in order to do that, right? And so I have to then give my team enough time and anticipation to go do so. So I think that's the important part of the Burn operating system when it comes to franchise partners. And what I will be talking with them about is how to create that vision, how to really get your team to buy into that vision, and then how to like stand and be confident about it, right? And really deal with all the personal things that come along the way when you're experiencing success. And it'll be fun. And training camps too. I like training camps. Thank you, Tina. I appreciate it. Anybody else? Hopefully that was helpful for you guys. I know that's like a rant. I am not short-winded.
You were just talking about bottom line revenue, and I know HQ is never going to give us like what everyone's going to be making or what you should be making. I know that. But in percentages, when you look at like payroll percentages, and two gyms, when I compare my two and I start studying my numbers, one gym has a much higher payroll percentage. Do you guys what's the newest recommendations on percentage of breakdown of spending on your P&Ls, like payroll?
Let's talk about this. So you have two locations. Which location in Burlington? Central Triad. What's your rent rate at each one?
They're about the same.
What are they?
58 and 6100.
Okay.
5800.
Okay. 50. Let's call it 6,000 for even numbers, because I can't do the math with 5,800. Okay, so 6,000, and then you're gonna have how much payroll for each location?
I can tell you exactly the
Tell me.
numbers. One location is
love
at
it.
9,000 average, and
Okay.
the other one averages about 13,000, and they have 2 more camps per day, so a little bit more camps. That's a lot higher percentage, in my opinion, and when I need to start cutting the fat. But I don't know across Burn Nation like the recommended percentages.
Well, it's a percentage to revenue ratio, but although that's not going to tell you a whole lot, and it's kind of a weak statistic because revenue it flexes, right? And it flexes variably. It's not fixed. It flexes variably with your payroll. Because you're going to have 2 more locations, and you're going to have to onboard a couple more people, but it should be variable because the amount of membership that you should be able to add should be able to well compensate for that payroll, and your margins to grow after your break-even point. Traditionally, that's what happens in our gym. We call it like the 250 to 300 mark. By the way, we're working on AUP, average unit profitability, working on it very hard. I should be standing on stage at Summit in 2023. Hopefully, don't cut my head off for whatever contingencies come down the line that I don't foresee at this point, but with an app kind of waving it like, hey guys, you can go in here right now and start looking at all this. So you would then have to go line by line and look at all your salaries and match up. Do they match up? Have you done that?
Yes.
Okay, and so where did you find the discrepancies on 9 versus 13?
Well, it was one individual that was being overpaid.
Okay, did you right size their payroll?
Yes.
And is it now 9,000 and 9,000, or is it still?
No, it's still not. It's still uneven, but they have more members at that location, so it's like I have a bigger gross operating revenue to work with.
Okay.
So percentage-wise, it's still a higher percentage for the operating revenue versus the lower gym.
I would like to say this, that your margins at on your economics at 400 members, okay, 400 members should be roughly about 30%.
Okay.
25 to 30% if you're optimized, right? And that's a blended trailing 12 months. You can't look at it in just one snapshot of 1 month, right?
Okay.
You have to blend all the months together. But if you're running 30% margins, we're creme de la creme of the brick and mortar industry. And we do that. Like we do that in our company-owned gyms, not every month, like I said, but then there's some months where we crush and it's like 40%. Well, those gyms also have payroll mirrored too, not payroll, excuse me, management fees that mirror royalties, just so you're clear. Right, so when we look at those numbers, those margins aren't inflated, but because you guys pay 6 and 2% for your royalties, those margins aren't inflated. So I'm looking at apples to apples comparisons when I do compare company owned versus yours. But then we also look at other systems, and like for example, I can't share any specific like locations or people or names, but there's some rent rates that are at 58 that I know of in the Midwest that are making like 40% margins every month. Mm-hmm. So it becomes contextual to a certain point, Wendy. But as long as I would work backwards from net margin, right? And then say, okay, on 30%, what are my normalized payroll to revenue ratios on a 30% margin? And then my rent to revenue ratios, which is more fixed, right? It makes sense?
Yes, it does. It's just really hard to talk to franchise partners about that because a lot of them don't even know their percentages.
Yeah, well, that's a whole different problem, and that's what we're working on, right? So that right there is a sophisticated pitch and catch on reading and analyzing P&Ls, right, and being able to siphon out activity to then be able to go back and say, okay, I've asked myself all the questions. We found out there was this one person who was a great value, but we were paying more for the value than they were showing. And so we needed to right size that, and then you go back and look, did that fix it? Okay, well now I have this variable cost in these 2 camps over here that I have to account for. All right, what's that percentage of what percentage is that? Should that jump? Based on how much I've added on my comp to the other gym. And then you just start picking it apart. And if you just don't stop asking yourself questions, you'll get to the bottom of it. Like first principle thinking. There's a lot of books that teach that out there. First principle thinking is like how an engineer would like keep asking, keep asking, keep asking. And eventually you're going to run out of room to ask. And the only answer is sell more things, right? At a certain point, you can't shut the lights off to save money.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And if you want to go deeper anytime, I know these guys love to pitch and catch on that stuff and go super deep.
Nicole a lot lately.
All right, good, good. And any problems that you guys can't overcome or run into, I'll try my best to stumble over it. Yes, you ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
From your perspective, as 6 weeks in, what is the biggest pitfall you've seen franchise partners run into?
Thinking that, okay, let me rephrase this or else I say it's going to get mad at me. What's the biggest what's the biggest pitfall that I see franchise partners or really any business owner in right away in the first 6 weeks? And I think it's getting too high too soon. Like you have to earn to get out of the weeds. Like you should be as happy as a pig rolling in the mud for the first 2 years. And if that's not your expectations, then you're going to get 30 days in and you're going to be just swamped with everything. And you're going to be working 100 hours a week. Well, welcome to entrepreneurship. Welcome to having a business. Welcome to like the land of the free. You're able to work as hard as you need to make that dollar, right? So you have to have the expectation that the first 2 years, I'm in the weeds. That's my best advice. And there's a layer of humility that's built in when you're able to say, I'm willing to do every job almost better than everyone, right? I can do everything. And if it's not training, it's at least being able to observe the training really, really well and be able to articulate it. And you should know everything about the business. The reason people aren't successful right out of the gate is because they go, I'm the boss now. I'm the boss. I got people working for me. Here we go. I'm just going to lead from up top, from the mothership. I don't need to be in the gym. I don't need to be grinding it out. I don't need to be working out. And maybe that can work in some brands, guys, but that doesn't work here, right? And you all know that. I'm not telling you anything that you don't already know. But and then you could maybe say leadership would be the abstract version of get in the weeds, stay in the weeds, be happy with it, and just be a part of the journey. Enjoy the journey. You're going to miss it if you try not to. Like, I can't stay out of the gym now because I'm not in there a lot. I can't stay out. I'm eager to work out, like I want to be in there all the time. Just never lose that humility to make the connections that you know you need to make that brought you here, that connected you here in the first place. So you get too business oriented, y'all. You get too serious about like Burn Boot Camp and you get too serious about financial language and economics and all that. It's not fun anymore. Then what's the point? So be a part of your community, not just, you got to be the staple of your community. Be the person that everybody can come to. You should know everybody in the first 6 weeks. You should know everybody. Not only should you know everybody, you should know their husband and their kids and their wife or their partner or their dog's name or their birthday. You should know what motivates them, what career they have. That's 300 people. You could do that with 300 people, couldn't you? If you really had to, right? I was talking to Jordan upstairs. Jordan is an amazing contractor of ours. He's been helping us do the live stream since day one. And he always comes and does the SAC. And he was telling me that I can't not stop when I'm doing the burpees. And I said, can I give you like a grotesque example? I said, it's just a matter of motivation. It's not that you can't, it's just a matter of motivation. If I took a gun and said, I'm going to blow off your right knee if you don't do 50 in a row, do you think he's going to be motivated to do 50 in a row? Right? Yeah, he's going to be motivated to do 50 in a row, so it's not a matter of I can't, right? So it's like, get in there. Yes, you can. Meet all 300 people, know everything about them, drive over to their house, clear out their pantry, right? Like, be a blessing to their kids, comment back with them on social media, be ingrained into their life. And if you do that and you make those first 300 people your best friends, your allies, that's your marketing army, that's your referral army. If you just go in and you're just like, oh, the product will sell itself, no, it won't. It will not. It'll sell itself to a certain point. You'll break even at 2 years, maybe, if you're halfway decent as a leader. No, not suggest, you know what I mean? I'm just saying, I've seen that before, right? Where even halfway good leadership gets to 2 years and we're still profitable and we're still making money, we're still getting a return on our investment. But it's not that fun if there's no return on your impact. So that would be my suggestion. That's where I see most people go wrong. Thank you for your question. Is that helpful?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. I need some reassurance here. Thank you. Anybody online? Anybody in the house? Mel? Oh, we got a football, toss that to Mel. She can catch it. She's an athlete.
I just wanted to piggyback off of that. I agree with everything you're saying. And when I first opened Mallard Creek, I lived that. It became really challenging when I opened my second gym because on the daily I woke up feeling this horrible guilt that I wasn't pouring into that group of people like I was Mallard. And then subsequently we opened more gyms, and it's a constant, there's not a day that I don't feel some sort of, I should be there more, I should be doing more, I should, and that's really hard to navigate, like always for me.
That's what makes you you. That's your compassion talking. That's not your enemy. That's your friend. There's some logic that needs to be applied to that emotion, right? To feeling so compassionate that sometimes you can't sleep because you're missing that empathy, you're missing that connection, you're missing those people sitting across from you in a focus meeting and going deep and 15 straight minutes, bawling their eyes out and like being the most relieved they ever have and confiding in you and like having that real tight relationship. That's so hard to walk away from, right? I understand that. But that's what makes you you, and that's what gives you the tools and the strength and the ability and the knowledge to pour in all of that energy that you could with 300, 400, 500 people, right? Because you got some ambition and some capacity to do that. What would happen if you poured into the 6 people with the same amount of energy, the same amount of love, the same amount of compassion, the same amount of relationship? You didn't treat the people that were your employees like your employees, but you treated them more like the members that you wanted to connect with, the ones that you wanted them to share their vision and share their life and share their world. What if you took all that energy that you have that's made you so successful and you concentrated that in the 6 most important people to the mission, right? Now all of a sudden you're getting that fulfillment, and here's what happens too. On the other side, where you have now the 2,000, when Mel walks in the room, you now only now have the ability to experience that elevated level of influence. If you're always available to people all the time, to everyone all the time, you lose your magic and your mystique. If you want to go to the next level as an influence, go away for a while and then show up and then do something in your gym that's big and Mel's coming, right? And you'll never forget how to connect with people, so you'll be able to do it real time because you're always doing it constantly with those 6, and you'll just be really comfortable in connecting with a lot of people. And that's been my journey as I've gone from giving the reins to Lindsay Gilbert, and then to Kyle, and then to Matt, and then to Beasley, and then to Matt. Like, I had a lot of trainers that I had to basically hand over the loves of my life, my children, like the people that made me successful. That's the way that I look at it. They believed in me enough to give me a chance to be successful. I'm turning them over. Of course that's hard. It's like giving your kids away almost, right? In a way, like it's not that intense, but it's like that. Like just the thought of me giving kids away is like impossible to not tear up, you know? And so you have to make a decision on your primary aim and what you really want in your life and your strategic objective, and you need to make every move through that. Because you're going to make the same way where I'm going to make decisions differently at 10,000, going to 10,000 versus 500 is the same way you're going to make decisions differently if you wanted to have 10 locations versus 20 versus 50, because you cannot do that even at 3. So, you can't dream unless you're willing to give that up. Right. But you can't. It's who you are, and it's what makes you magical. So you just have to redirect the energy. Find your 6 people. Pour into them.
I do feel like Lindsay and I have shifted in that the past year. Like last year, we rented our townhouse, and we're like, we have this office, and we were there every day. Like we're just trying to rebuild again. And then what we discovered was we were doing what you said not to do, right? Like we were up here, out of the gym, working all the time. And although it was good, it put things in place, we were miserable. Like we weren't connecting with our members, we weren't connecting with our employees, like we lost sight of so many things. And then it just hit us at Summit. We were like, we're doing this wrong. And so we are doing what you said. Like, for example, Belmont, we poured into Arden and Hannah. We don't need to be there. Those girls rock that gym. And so that's a gym I don't wake up feeling guilty. I'm like, they're getting so loved on by Arden and Hannah because that's already happening. So I do see what you're saying. Like, and I feel like we're kind of on that path to implement what you're talking about. We're more like doing leadership stuff with our team and pouring into them and going to the Whitewater Center together. And we planned a weekend away with them. And we're already feeling the difference. And the vibe is just so different now from last year to this year.
Great self-awareness, right? That's what she just displayed. Hey, something's going wrong. It's probably me. It actually is me. It's our fault. Let's fix it.
Yeah.
We fixed it. Now I figured out how to fix it and how to do it at one gym. So you, in a sense, just answered your own question. You probably didn't even need to hear from me, but I'm glad to give you some reassurance that you should do 4 more times, which you've already done once. Yeah, because that's, I think, that's super special. Yeah, good job. You too, Linz. What are you up there? Why are you so quiet today? What's on your mind?
Are you shocked?
Yeah, I am actually. I'm surprised you haven't snatched that mic up yet.
Oh, I'm good.
Okay, good. Awesome. Is that helpful, Mel?
Yeah, no, it's really helpful.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else?
All right, so
Bridget.
how was 10,000 the magic number? I'm just curious more about like.
Why was 10,000 the magic number?
Yeah.
Bridget, I have no idea. It sounded like a good number at the time. It's a well-rounded number. CrossFit has 14,000. Curve went to 8. So there's some comps out there for brick and mortar going to that level. And yeah, that's about all the information that I had. And then I knew I had a bunch of ambitious people that were going to need to hear that so that they understood. We had a polarization of that goal, right? In a slight one. I don't want to say that's a bad word to use probably because it's like overused by like politicians. There was an indifference between what going to the moon meant when I said it and unit economics at the time. I hadn't done a good enough job of making my rounds to talk about how important unit economics is, and that's actually at the center of that goal. And without unit economics, you don't have, like without the cell, you don't have the body, right? Without the nucleus, you don't have the cell. Well, economics are the nucleus to the whole body. And I didn't do a good enough job empathizing with that on stage because I was just hyped up, and I should have said what I said at 22 Summit. It said, okay, to the moon. I know that scares you. I know some of you right now are still beat up from a pandemic. I know some of you are losing money from a pandemic. But here's why I need to do this. And here's why I need to say this. Because there's other people here that need me to let them know that I'm going to be here for 30 years so that they can continue to invest into the brand and make their strategic plans. Because I had never given anyone in this organization more than 36 months advance, or more than the year's advance really, on what we were going to do, like kind of what was coming down the line, right? So there's always constant need and hunger for anticipation for information, Bridget, and you've been a part of that, right? And I think as we get further out, the further out we can get and normalize future vision talk, the more we normalize it for you and the more you all can anticipate. So I knew, in a sense, how people were going to react to that, and I knew that there would be a little, there would be a level of frustration. Lesson learned, I should have tapered that a little bit, but it was necessary to at the time because then it also gave me a reason. It gave me direction on what I should be talking about next. And everything out of my mouth from that point in time was unit economics. You sell, we support, right? We innovate together. All these ideologies that stem from that. So that's just a little bit on what I think when I think what to the moon means. And then somebody actually sent me an Instagram message yesterday, and she got it tattooed right here after she heard my speech. She got it tattooed on her forearm, and at that moment, I was relieved of some of the embarrassment from not being able to speak to everybody on stage at 2021 Summit. That beat me up a little, not a lot. I got over it. I didn't dwell on it, but it beat me up that people were like, dude, seriously? A couple people said, like, I don't blame them at all, by the way. Are you kidding me? You're talking about to the moon? I lost 10 grand last month. I pulled my daughter out of private school, buddy.
I have a follow-up.
Okay.
Is there an expectation for franchise partners coming in, or obviously those of us that are already here, to own a certain number?
No, that's a great question. Is there an expectation of anyone to own a certain number? And the answer to that is no, absolutely not. And the people first core value that we have, the literal definition of it, and then what I think makes us different than other brands is that what we do is we ask you the question, what's your vision and what's your motivation and what do you really want? And we try to do that as many times over as we can, and we need to get better at it, and we need to get to everybody. There's still locations that are open that we haven't visited as a field support team, for example. So there are gaps in our ability to get to everybody to ask these questions, but the essence of People First is that we don't bring people onto the brand to help the company reach its vision. That we understand and know your vision and motivation, and we push you to pursue that. When our trainers were over here in the Q&A, I told all of your trainers that I don't care whether you're here as a stepping stone to what you ultimately want to do, or you're here because you bleed blue and you're going to be a multi-unit franchise partner one day. Our job as leaders is to understand what motivates you, not how your talents and skills can help the brand achieve its goals. And so I probably need to do a better job of that, Bridget, with you specifically. I think I get familiar with you because we're here all the time. And I think that's self-awareness on my end to not just worry about the people that are in Oregon, in California, but to not forget those who have invested into us since day one. And this is something that I brought forward in the Charlotte meeting when I was like, hey, my vision for Charlotte is that we all have such a close relationship and we're all on the same page at all times that we can bring people from all over the country into the city of Charlotte, and we can feel so confident and lockstep about deploying anybody to any location, right? And knowing that you guys and HQ and our team are aligned and that we all have each other's back. And I do think we're making good progress on that. I really do. For example, I think Melissa and Lindsay had really offered up their support and their services and their buy-in because they've, their locations. That means a lot to us, right? For them to step up and say, hey, raise their hand and say, hey, I want to be a part of Burn You. But I'm not expecting that necessarily. It's like, hey, that's the desire if you're not into that as a location. And there's locations that aren't. I don't need to name them, but there's locations that aren't into that specifically. But there's no expectations of anyone, because if I have an expectation of you, then you don't fulfill that expectation. Now I'm not happy. I've given you power over me to control my happiness. And as a person, as a human being, as a man, that's something that I will never do. I'll never give up my control and my power to my own personal well-being like that. So regardless if you go build 50, or you build one and you hold it, or you exit and you sell, or you partner with 13 other people, or you say, Devan, this is too much for me. I'm going to sell my location and we're going to transition. We're going to do a resale. Whatever the case may be, it is your vision. It is your motivation. I'm here to support as long as you're a good steward of the core values of the brand, that you're a great leader and you're putting forth effort to add value to your teams as servant and leader, and that you have a great attitude and that you treat people with kindness and respect and candor and follow the core values, right? And I think that's very important for you guys to know, is that it really, truly is your own destination that you're designing. This may be just one of the vehicles. In fact, it is one of the vehicles for a lot of people. And it just happens to become the favorite vehicle for some because it's really profitable if you do it the right way. Food franchising is a pain in the ass. We have a couple people do food franchising, and the margins are pretty small. So, and I'm all about you guys, reaching your goals. So let us know what it is. You guys got a flight? You outie? Okay. How much time do we have left? Oh, great. Let's go. Get it done. See you, Chels. Thanks for hanging for a little bit. Cool. Good convo. Anything else? Where did that come from? Anything else? What's going on, guys? What's up, Brett? Go ahead, Mel.
You want the mic?
Bridget, anything else for you? Sorry.
No, I'm good. Thank
Good.
I'm asking this more so to help other people because you've helped me tremendously in this. When I first opened my gym, I'd get spun out every time someone did something that copied what my gym did or what Burn's doing. And this was really hard for me to digest for a long time. And I'm at a good place for it now where I adapted what you've taught me. But I think it'd be beneficial for other people to hear how to navigate that, right? Because it could be really frustrating if we're doing something and then a week later someone else is doing it. I recently sent you a new franchise is doing a make sense, say yes. I mean, down to like everything. So what would you say to the franchisees that are experiencing, that find that frustrating, right? Because that's us. That's our baby, and it's being duplicated. And because I know for me, it was really hard for me to be able to laugh about it, not like call you screaming.
Yeah, you have to. It's a human nature to emulate greatness. And so people are gonna look at you and they're gonna want to emulate your success. They're gonna want to emulate. Kids want to emulate Michael Jordan, right? People who love fitness are going to want to emulate the best. It's flattering. It's frustrating, but it's also flattering. It's frustrating on an emotional level, like on an EQ level, but on an IQ level, it's flattering because once they are where you're at, they'll only be where you left off. And so you have all of this, you have this bridge in time. And that's why I say if you're not growing, you're dying. Because if you do stop growing, well, all the things that you did are once going to be learned. I mean, that's just human nature. Think about like anything you've ever heard any motivational speaker or any inspirational speaker ever say, all is rooted back to the Stoics 4,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago, I don't know the history, but there's not a single thing that's said today that's new, right? That's under the sun. Everything said has been said before, and it's been said for thousands of years. And so action is the great separator, right? You can copy, make sense, say yes all day long, right? But are you willing to do the things that we are willing to do? Are you willing to go to great lengths to continue to push yourself, to continue to push the people around you, to elevate your leadership game, to figure out, I think here's the key, figure out the distinctions that make you more intelligent than them. Because as you move forward, the only, I think about it this way, intelligence is nothing more than the compound effect of all the distinctions that you have about one category over someone else. So if we know more about fitness and the fitness product and how to motivate people and human psychology and our trainers, and we continue not to dumb our training down. That's not the goal, to dumb training down so that we can scale it. That's the worst idea ever. We're going to make it so complex and train people so well on it over time. It won't seem like it's complex, but we'll get somewhere 5 years, and it'll be the most complex group of, trainer knowledge on the planet. And nobody, they can say make sense, say yes all they want to, nobody is going to be able to deliver at scale the feelings that we're going to be able to deliver because we know people way better than they know people. Mm-hmm. Right? And so I think about it this way. Please copy me because it's evidence that I'm doing the right things. So please copy me. And please talk shit about me publicly if you see me doing the wrong things. And I'll also probably listen to that. And I think that's a good philosophy. So, keep your blinders on, I guess, is keep it straightforward. Right? Like, name me one other system on the planet. We've gone through our ups and downs in our relationship, right? But name me one other system on the planet that's as close as we are at this scale. And I would challenge, I would put us up pound for pound against anybody in terms of how tight we are and how much information that we share back and forth and how responsible we are with that information. Great, Wendy. Often imitated, never duplicated. What is the difference between a co-trainer versus a lead trainer versus a training team? My personal opinion. Well, I'll talk about what we do factually. So we have a lead trainer that's at every gym in Salt Lake City, okay? And then we have Jared Harris, who's a lead trainer of one gym, but he has a very light camp schedule at that one gym, and he's got a training team, right? But he's still the lead trainer. We just got a few more extra trainers to help him in terms of taking the camps. So he has like 20 hours, 25 hours a week in the gym, and then my man goes 60 hours a week on the rest of the business, right? And he's a hustler, right? And you got to find somebody like that. That's a key. Jared Harris, he's a dog, right? And so he's going to do whatever it takes to make sure he gets to all those gyms and that we're blue carpet tight, that we are onboarding people the right way, that our SACs are all logged and everybody they get a month notice when they have to take it again if they relapse, you know? Like he's got it super tight because he can spend that time. I think that there is vulnerability. It depends on how big your gym is. Let me make that prerequisite because we have co-lead upstairs because the volume is so big that we have to. Would I have a co-lead if we were 500 members? I don't believe that I would because we don't in Orem. In Orem, we're making a lot of money in Orem. It's a great gym, and we have a lead trainer model there, and Jared is also overseeing that gym. Former franchise partner Stephanie Knut, by the way, killing it in Orem right now. So the answer is not very clear because it depends. I would say that if you're putting together a structure with all of your gyms, my best recommendation is that structure. It's working well, and our margins, some gyms aren't there yet because we just opened American Fork like 2 months ago and then 4 months ago. So those gyms are still going to be red right now. But after Empower, rolling into the new year, we're going to be rolling on all cylinders in Salt Lake City with that model, and we're going to have a full portfolio that shows pretty good cash flow. So it's working, and the margins are good. Our other one is multi-unit, multi-state. So that's tough, right? Because you have Lake Norman, Flower Mound in Texas, and West Boca. See, it just matters on what your infrastructure is. But for you guys, I would be modeling Salt Lake City as tightly as I possibly could. There's a lot of R&D that went into that. Yeah.
Are y'all going to be releasing how you pay those lead trainers? I mean, I think that's what a lot of us do differently.
Yes, I would love to. I would love to tell you guys how to pay people, but the FTC and joint employer will not let me do that. So like it has to be experience sharing with your FBCs. Hey, I got to connect you with this person. They're very strict. Like you guys can go on Google and you can type in FTC franchise laws, and there's like a human version of it, not like a legal, like I think they call it the normal version. And it just tells you all the things that we can and can't do. We get like the highest standard of audit done every single year. We get the highest standard of audit done. And so if we're not tight on those types of things, or they find holes, like there's attorneys in this country just looking for that. So the answer would be, I think you can find it by connecting with FBC teams and then by experience sharing with people that are close to you. And it's hard because there's also market differentiation too, you know. And
well, I mean, I did. I asked for some suggestions from some people, and I got them from a few, but I just yes, got from yes.
Bryce, hey, Bryce is here. Bryce would love to talk to you. He can talk to you about it all day long. He can talk. He just can't tell you what to do, right? He can just show you. He can say, "Here's what I'm doing." There he is.
Oh, he made it back from the stop sign?
He can say, "Yeah. Thanks for driving your car to the stop sign in the SAC. It was really
Yeah, I got you guys.
Yeah. Appreciate it. But yeah, I mean, honestly, if you Bryce would be more than happy to share. We're just not going to be able to say, "Hey, Missy, this is what you have to do."
No, I'm not
Okay.
looking for some guidelines.
Yeah.
I know we're all so differently. We pay so differently, and I'm just going to more of a lead trainer in my gym, and I'm just trying to look for some structure that can help me grow the gym because being a remote owner sucks.
Mm-hmm.
And I need someone that can help me build it. And I think I have that person.
Who's your
So
FBC?
oh, well, I don't know. It's not now.
Have you talked to Kenny about this? Okay, let's talk to Kenny. All right, and then if Kenny doesn't give you an answer, which I know Kenny will give you an answer, then we can talk to Bryce. All right, but Kenny's gonna give you an answer. Okay, all right, let's do that. And I think, and then we're probably gonna, nudge you to build some incentives in there. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Great question. Bridget.
I saw on something that you're piloting a kids program.
Yeah.
And I'm just interested, can you tell us more about
Yeah.
that? Okay.
Yeah, so my vision for the organization, like let's say outside of the 3 years and like kind of down the road, is not to have to be a brand group, but not to be a brand group in the traditional sense. If you think of a franchising brand group, you might think of like Neighborly, for example. They have Molly Maid and Peach Maid, all these like competing brands. Exponential Fitness is the one in our industry. They have Cycle Bar and Pure Bar, and they have all like these competing brands, right? Well, we're really good at franchising. We have great franchise partners. You're limited territory with what you're able to open. And so what we wanted to do is triple down on the Burn Bootcamp brand and open a feeder program that's 3 to 13 years old. That would be Burn Bootcamp for kids, right? But it's another franchise concept. We're piloting it in South Jordan right now. Bryce is actually leading that charge. And our hope is, right, there's still contingencies, but our hope is to bring that forward as a secondary offering, both internally and then externally as a smaller square foot, 12 to 1,500 square footprint, super light asset-wise, super cheap, quick to open. The fitness and nutrition ecosystem for kids. There is like Little Gym right now, and there's My Gym, and there's a few other ones that are pretty popular. Those are more like for functional motor skills / getting kids active / indoor playground / give mom and dad a break or nanny a break, right? This is going to be teaching, educating, showing kids the technical ins and outs of fitness and nutrition, right? So that we can get a positive connotation earlier and build our pipeline into the adult version. That's the vision for it. I think it's going to crush. I think we're going to go really fast with it. And we know what to do now because we've already built Burn. And there's a lot of mistakes that we made that we could bypass that we won't make. And we'll continue to keep the philosophy of inside out at top of mind as we go build that business out in the future. So that everybody that's already here, like I said, can have their crack at it, right? So that's, to me, really, really exciting because I have, and Morgan does too, we have just a huge passion for, that's why Kids Camp has always been inside the 4 walls. It's like a summer program, and we just see it every time. We're like, man, these kids camps are packed out. Moms and dads would pay all day long for this. So in South Jordan right now, 1,200 square foot, getting ready to pilot. We'll give you more information when we have it, because that's about all we have at this point.
Is it like attached to your location, to the location there, or is it near?
I think we don't know exactly yet, right? I think it can be attached. I think you could buy an 8,000 square foot space and devise it. I think there'd be a couple different things that we could do to get creative and unique, for sure, definitely. But what I do know is that it will be at least a separate LLC, separate economically. It's not going to be a blended business anymore, where like retail and Burn Nutrition and memberships are, right? You'd have the kids version of the Afterburn bar that we may just make a mini version and sell that there, and that's your economics for those locations, right?
Do they offer the classes at the same time as the camps are happening?
Ideally, yeah. Ideally, that's what a lot of what we're going to do. And
Watch would be 0 to 3, and then this would be 3 to 13.
yeah, for sure. Or moms and dads that Child Watch, we don't see it having any impact. It's just another additional service. So a good setup in the future. If you have that 10-year outlook and you are working backwards from a $10 million net worth, it might be 5 burns and 5 kids camps. You never know. So that's definitely going to be something that we are working hard on, and not necessarily at the moment. Right at the moment, there's a pilot. We've already set it up. There's just a few people in the organization running the pilot. We'll get the information, we'll analyze it, and then we'll determine the timeline from there. Great question though. I love talking about that stuff. You guys out of here? All right, go get it. Let's go. You're so welcome. All right, Kurt, go get it. All right, see you, man.
So what's going on with retail? Do we expect prices to come down because?
You should expect prices to go up. Yeah, because
Even our wholesale costs go up.
well, there's the macroeconomic environment that we can't ignore, right? And we can't just be the man in the middle that eats all of the costs of everything happening in the world. We have to allocate and spread those costs across the brand. If you watched the last family meeting and Morgan's address on the recognition call when she was announced as CEO, you'll see that the refinement of and you can also look in the Franchise Advisory Council notes too, which are long and tedious, but you can find it in there if you want to go like really in depth on it. But what let me think about how to make sure I position this the right way. So with the advent of the shop, okay, we're taking out a few major problems, right? There's a couple problems in terms of the quantity in which we're ordering and the ability to sustain that, and the leftover or the product that we're shorting. There's some cleanup there, and then there's cleanup in customs, right? So it's just like one of a few phases where we're actually cleaning up the business model in a box and packaging it. And the economics are a part of that, right? So if inflation goes up 7% and it's going to stay there, well, we can't charge $19.99 or $24.99. We need to charge $26.99. So you're not going to see like a huge jump, right? It's not going to go from $28 a t-shirt to $38 a t-shirt or whatever. But you should always over time expect for MSRPs and things like that to go up. And listen, make sure everybody's on. If you're not confident in MSC, nobody's going to be confident in it. There's going to be locations that do $50,000 a month like they do now, with the same margins and the same economic model and the same demographics and all that. So it's possible. We have to make sure that our teams are trained and that they're educated, they know how to sell, right? Because if they don't know how to sell, then we can't hold them accountable. We didn't give them the skills and the knowledge that they need to have confidence in walking up to somebody and be like, hey, not only should you buy this 12-month membership because I'm absolutely going to change your life and be the catalyst to do all the things that you wanted me to do in our focus meeting with and for you, but you also need to take this afterburn protein, because without it, you're not going to build your muscular frame. And if you're not building your muscular frame, your results aren't going to come as quick, right? And so it's training our teams to understand the why. Why are people in our gyms? We don't need to teach them about the things on the wall and all the features and benefits of burn. The question we need to be asking people when they come in is, why are you here? And then we need to make sure everyone in the gym knows why people are here and that your team is trained so that they can sell at those price points. People are going to buy it, right? It makes them feel better. If they don't buy it in your gym, and I empathize with that, it's not that people aren't going to buy it. It's like we went to an Orem and all we did was re-merchandise. Nobody was buying anything in Orem. I was ticked because we had 400 plus members. And there's locations with 400 members tripling our retail revenue. I'm like, what are these people doing? I refuse to think that it was the buying behaviors of the members, and it was everything to do with, it was my fault for not educating our teams, right? And then not putting and instituting a re-merchandising process, right? And training everybody. So we did that. We trained everyone, we re-merched. In the trailing 3 days, we sold $3,000 worth of merchandise, right? And so go to root cause, right? I know you don't think that it would move if the price points went up, because it's not moving now. And I understand and empathize with that. But the price point isn't the root cause. It's the training, and it's the accountability and the level 10s and the measurables that you're associating in with all of that. And, if you want to focus on retail, that's where your measurables are focused on, right? And I think if you go down those boxes and you tick, I've trained everyone, they have all the tools, information, and knowledge, right? Then at the end of the day, it might not be the right person because they might not get it, want to have the capacity to do it, and then you separate with them, and that's a problem that we all have sometimes, right? As business ebbs and flows, you get down in, and you're like, your eyeballs are on everything, and then sometimes your eyeballs are up in the clouds a little bit, and you forget that you can't keep them up in the clouds for too long. I think 10% on the vision and 10% on where you want to go, and then 90% pouring into the people that are going to help get you there, teaching them, educating them, and holding them accountable for what they said they're going to do. So I hope that helps. I know it helps me just to talk about it out loud, because I was frustrated in Orem when we're moving like $3,000 in retail in a month. And I'm like, guys, what's the problem? Oh, wait, it's not you, it's me. Duh. Right? All right. Are we good? What do we want to do? Accountability charts. Who hasn't done it? Go, Wendy. See ya. Bye. No, it's okay. I'll stay here all day long with you as long as you guys want to. Anybody else needs to go, please go. I'll answer accountability charts. Has anybody not done accountability charts yet? Raise your hand if you've not done an accountability chart for your organization. It's okay. It's okay. We have to know. We have to know. Hannah have not yet. Missy have not yet. Okay. Accountability charts is where it all starts. Everything starts with accountability. You have an org chart, right? Do you guys all have your accountability charts, Mel and Lynn's? Yeah, well, raise your hand when I ask the question, Mel. They're up there. Kinda. Kinda. Good. It's not going to be something that you make in like an hour and then it's all of a sudden perfect and it's ready, right? So we're going to work with Kenny. Who's your FBC? Who's your opening specialist? Okay, and you're going to work with Paige to figure out when all this stuff is at the appropriate time for you to start learning it. And I think I'm going to stop there because Nicole might kick me in the face if I talk about okay, good. Sometimes I speak out of line and Nicole's like, stop speaking out of line. But accountability charts it's the most important document from a people perspective, right? So if you look at the Burn operating system, I talked a little bit about vision. The next most important piece from my perspective is people. There's two things in the people slice of the pie, two tools that I really like, accountability charts and people analyzers. Okay, the people analyzer is the get it, want it, capacity to do it. Everybody's lined up. Do they get it? Do they want it? Capacity to do it. FBCs can go deeper with you on that. And then the accountability chart basically says, here's the roles and responsibilities, rather than what most of us probably have is, here's the person and the name. Because when you have a person and a name, what's going to happen is when that person and that name leaves, you had then created a custom role for them. That custom role leaves with them, and their uniquities are not going to allow you to backfill it because somebody else does not have the same personality, the same skills, the same knowledge, the same abilities. They're going to be a different person. So you can't customize roles for people. That's a big no-no, or else you're never, ever, ever going to build an infrastructure. Trust me, I thought I was smarter than EOS for like 5 years and always tried to build my own thing. And the Burn operating system people analyzer is a much better way to do it. And I'm way more productive by using other people's tools rather than trying to build the tools myself. So that's my nod to follow the playbook, right? And so the people analyzer and let's get it, want a capacity to do it. And the accountability chart needs to be set up for your organization. It's going to be a little bit different for each one of you, but is a fundamental part of your business. Without that, you have no accountability. Okay, because there's going to be this thing called LMA. Who knows what LMA stands for? You don't get to answer, Dylan and Terry and Nicole. Leadership, management, accountability. Yes, let's go. You're getting it. You're getting it. Right? It's going to tell you who has LMA. It's going to tell you who's responsible for the retail revenue. Right? It's going to give people clarity. And when your team has clarity, they have power. If they have clarity and anticipation, they have superpower, right? If you can get them super clear on exactly what they're responsible for, and then you can tell them the road ahead, you're going to be the best person to work for. You're going to keep people forever if you layer on the third thing and thread all the company's goals through their visions. If you do those three things, that's what leadership is. Too many people will talk about leadership as like this abstract thing. It's like being a good leader is like, not being lonely on the top of the mountains. Like, what the hell does that mean? Like, let's land the plane on what leadership is, and it's those three things. You guys follow? All right, that's LMA. So get that done. Because once you have that done, now you're going to layer on everything else, and you're going to have the shell of your entity, and then the shell of your entity is then, you could use Culture Index, which I highly recommend. It's a great investment. I don't hire without it. And it's like $2,000. What's the Culture Index cost? Is it that much? Yeah. Tell John to lower his prices. I know it's a great tool, but maybe like, yeah, all right. All right.
It is very helpful though.
Yeah, it's so helpful. $8,000 a year, even it's not that much. If you could say, all right, I could save $8,000 a year by not hiring the wrong people 5 times, then you're probably gonna just justify the cost.
Alan broke down like buddy and like refill that spot on the owner's forum, it was expensive.
Yeah, it's not cheap. Yeah, losing people is not cheap, right?
Culture index is cheaper than that, for sure.
Yeah, so culture index, listen, I believe in it. We don't hire without it, and it's basically a personality profile, but a personality profile that also assesses personality profiles with job behaviors, which gives you the power to manage and hold those people accountable and speak with them about why those two graphs may look identical or may change over time. Anyhow, performance coaching tools, right? But the accountability chart is you only hire, in my opinion, you're only hiring people that fit the what's called C job or the culture index job. You're only fitting people that hire that fit that pattern for that role. And so what we're trying to do as the next evolution of it is the accountability charts come with culture index patterns. And I know Nicole's working on this in depth. She is building out templates. Although everybody's unique, everyone's going to be within like 10% of some structure, right? And so the multi-unit, same city, multi-unit, multi-state, single unit, multi-unit, multi-unit, single unit, yeah, multi-unit partner, single unit partner, you know what I mean? Because all the people and then the entities are what you're trying to solve for. So everybody has a different mix of people and entities. But the tools are there, right? So solve for the problem. Don't try to solve researching the tools. And that's a mistake that I made for probably 3 or 4 years that could have sped us a lot. Imagine if 3 years ago, Bridget, we were like, yeah, EOS, let's just call it BOS, do the same thing, and then build all custom tools. Let's just do that. Like, yeah, we would have been here like 3 years ago. Goes to show you how leadership decisions have a big impact on an organization, right? I said OKRs, which was objectives and key results. Remember that, Brett? That was terrible. Everyone was like, what is this? And you want to know what my response was? I don't know. That was my response. I don't know what this means. It was a very, everything was open. So you would have like, we use software, but the traditional way was to have like a poster board and then to have your objectives and your key results on your poster board so people could always kind of see what you were like working on. And it was, but then you didn't have any like performance management. It was just like, and then it's a free-for-all. So a lot of companies that are built on, super cutting-edge innovation like Google's and OpenAI's of the world and things like that, they were all using it. And so I thought it was cool because Google was using it. And then I'm like, okay, yeah, we have like 50 people. Probably not going to work. And then we went to EOS. So follow the playbook. Don't make the mistake that I made. You don't listen, all at this point, a lot of you in here, Missy, you two, Bridget, D-Love, Brett, y'all have been here for a while. Like, the playbook is legit. Just go follow it now, right? Because I'm following it. It's working so well. And just realize that it's not going to happen overnight. But this is what we are doing with our FBCs. This is why they're existing. To teach you the burn operating system so that you can teach other people the burn operating system. And until you get to the point where you know it so fluidly, where you could just stand up here and talk about it like I'm talking about it, or like Nicole can talk about it, or Dylan or Terry, when you get to that point, now you should have expectations of having a really, really great gym. And I wish I would have done it sooner for you all. That's a regret that I have. I wish I would have done it sooner to be able to give first-time entrepreneurs and business owners the tools that they really needed from the get-go, outside of just a handful of core processes that worked for some and were not that scalable. Who loves the BOS? Are you guys getting it? You putting it together? I love it too. I mean, team, right? Dylan, doesn't it give you structure? Well, it helps you. It helps you. Like Dylan's a super smart dude, right? But this is going to help him sound so much more intelligent because he has all of the language from all of the books, and that's the common language that we all have. I feel like I sound so smart sometimes when I talk about it. Don't you guys? Like you talk about BOS with other people, and you're like, the people analyzer and GWC, and it's like, yeah.
I literally messaged Nicole and said, I'm so
See you guys. Okay.
I'm so proud of DK talking about accountability charts. I never thought I'd see the day.
If you haven't learned by now, I'm a nonconformist and accountability chart. I don't like being held accountable. I just don't. That's why I'm the visionary. I don't like. Here's another thing that's probably most people don't understand about me is I don't like to hold other people accountable either. It's very hard for me to have like a really candid conversation because I have such a high level of empathy that it took me a very long time to learn how to speak the truth to people. Like in a.
Oh, I was gonna say because you do that now.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Like I said, it took a very long time, but I was very beat around the bush, and I saw how bad that was for myself and for other people. It was terrible for me because I felt like I wasn't serving and I was failing them. And then it was terrible for them because, you know, it's like this constant high tension environment. Like, you know, it was just, yeah, I'm not very good at it. So I got in a lane where I didn't have to do that ultimately because it wasn't my gifting to do that. Inspiration is my gifting, but performance management is not. I'm not detailed enough to learn what everyone's doing 2 weeks ago. And then 2 weeks, you know, I just go crazy. But yeah, the burn operating system to me is a non-negotiable. Like we have to go in deep on all 6 pieces, and we have to know inside and out the tools. And then our key leaders, the people that are in our level 10s, they need to know it inside and out too. And that's my expectation of my team. And that's why Salt Lake City can be ran from 2,000 miles away. I've been there twice. You know what I mean? And people used to say in the organization, rightfully so, because it hadn't been proven yet, used to say, you can't run this remotely. And I don't think certain people can run it remotely. I think there's limitations, especially without a burn operating system. Now that the burn operating system is institutionalized and I see people gravitating toward it and really taking ownership of it, because if you don't, nobody else will, and that's implemented, I bet that helps our remote owners a ton. I bet it helps them a ton to help their economics. But we also needed to prove that we could go out to a city that's 2,000 miles away and run an operation with only FTEs, boots on the ground, because you're not a brand until you can scale that way. You're not a national brand until you can scale that way. That was my perspective. So people saying, can't do it remote, can't do it remote, can't do it remote. Yeah, you're totally right at the time. Like it was a struggle, okay? And you're totally right even right now unless you've already fully adopted the BOS. Like if you hear any of that, guys, point them right to the BOS, like give them the why behind it and really try to help them understand why it's so important and why this playbook is in place. But I need to build the playbook for, Scott Tobin just built his 10th location, is going to open number 11. Heisinger has 11 locations. You know, how many you guys have now? 6 locations, right? A lot of hunger in the brand too. So it's like, I'm not going to let us get behind again. And that's I think a good promise for me is we're gonna know, you know, if you want to go from 6 to 12, we're gonna know how to do that, and we're gonna make that happen. No, we're not. Okay. We are not selling territory to a retail investor. Mm-hmm. We would sell a multi-unit territory to an institutional investor who has been there, done that, who has enough capital to sustain the gym sustain the gyms without profitability for a long time, mm-hmm. and likely already has some type of infrastructure in place that does have that hierarchy of leadership. So if that makes sense. So I'm not ruling it off the table. Yeah. I'm just saying, hey, I know what it takes now because we had to do it and it's very, very hard. And so you need to have this much money and you need to have this many people and you need to have this type of expectation on how quick you ramp up. And it's going to cost you 15% more at each location than it would to do it in your backyard because you need a GC to oversee the whole project, and there's costs associated with it.
As we gear up for our FAC meeting next week, Thursday and Friday, I think you guys all know that we obviously follow the BOS model and L10s, and we have an IDS session. That session's around 2 hours. You guys all should have received a survey. Hopefully you guys have seen the survey. Curious if you've taken it. And if there's anything that you guys can share with us that you feel like are the biggest areas of opportunities for the company that we can talk about next week that can help us drive our goals in quarter 4 or your goals in quarter 4.
I'll be the distribution. Hopefully you can catch. Or what's your biggest problem is another way to put it. What's your biggest like weight on your shoulders here that you think that we could help you with at this point in time? You're going to have my progress tab. My Progress is going to open into a few different types of screens. You're going to be able to, it's about what you gain versus what you lose, right? So we're not going to have any biometric entries on the MVP, and then we'll see how that goes. If people are like, hey, I want biometric entries, we might make it's super easy to do, but we're going to have all progress-driven PR. So we're basically going to have a bunch of exercises, and each field is going to have, you're going to have one, and you're going to be able to focus. The future of the focus with the trainers in focus meetings is on physical performance, right? We really like what we're seeing in the organization with that, and so let's just pretend that you're like here, and so you have all of your screens, and here's a little chat screen, and then I could swipe right, and I could go to my food log. You know the database that Lose It and MyFitnessPal has. So I'm researching that right now to pull that into our own custom, and you'll have ability to like log your food every day, like the couple screens that we would use in Lose It. We don't use like the totality of the whole thing, and then a couple pie charts. And then you're going to have monetization here for meals and supplements right underneath the food log. So every time they're logging their food, there's going to be like, replace this meal with our flash frozen meals. Remember, you guys are all selling this too, right? So like as people are navigating this app and you're sitting at your couch and they're on vacation and they order meals, like that's your revenue. That's the same revenue that you'd make as like in the franchising relationship, right? That's kind of an example of you sell it, we service it. We'll still take our 8% gladly, but we're gonna make sure that we use that to support that structure, right? You sell it, we support a structure. Okay, so to answer your question, this whole, and you might have a couple more screens too, but you get the gist, right? And you're gonna have this back and forth. Everybody's gonna have profiles. So when you make the app, you make a profile, just like it's like our own decentralized little social media community. A good example would be an app called Discourse. If you've heard of Discourse lately, it's a popular app. Discourse. Yeah. Discourse. And it's basically it might be Discord. Maybe I'm saying it wrong. I don't know.
Discord. D with it. D at the end.
You guys were just gonna let me keep going without saying anything, were you? Just.
Well, I think Terry was trying to correct you.
Well, then you said no, it's Discord. Like, yeah, okay, I got it. Anyway, okay. Anyway, that one. We're good.
The D one.
You could look at that functionality as to see how a burn boot camp decentralized. You know, think about this: like taking all the Facebook groups off of Facebook and putting them in our own central app. Same social media-esque like nature of it. Sharing media files, sharing profiles, tagging people, high-fiving people will be a reaction that we build in. So you're gonna have all these types of behaviors inside the app that are gonna create community. Well, one of these is, when you go to My Progress, that's gonna be also where you and your trainer interact. And so these are supposed to be profile pictures and text messages of you and your trainer back and forth on a food log. And then this last screen over here that I know is coming, but it will not be in the MVP, means the initial rollout. It will be nutrition coaching, where you could swipe and you could unlock and it'd be gray. And my goal, this is vision talk, right? You can never quote me on like exact things here. I just want to make sure we say that, is to swipe right, have a gray screen, and then have nutrition coaching enabled by AI that allows you guys to sell high ticket, equivalent to a gym membership, high ticket nutrition coaching that is the extension of a focus meeting. That focus meetings become more performance driven, which you have all that functionality free with all your PRs and all your physical gains, and then your communication with your trainer, and then your food log, and your driving sales with nutrition, and then nutrition coaching is over here. So that is like a high level vision for how a My Progress tab on an app would solve for the question that you asked, which is focus meetings don't have a structure. They're kind of all over the place. We'll be able to store all the data as centralized in the cloud in our ODS, and we'll be able to then across every gym and every entry be able to tell you what's working best, what the trends are, how many people PR'd in your gym in a month. You were going to have community forums that, just like I said, like the Facebook groups. And then the last point that I think is interesting for you guys is Burn Bucks. We've never been able to really operationalize that as like a rewards program. We're going to model the Starbucks rewards program that like broke the mold back in the day. You remember that thing came out and like now everybody just takes out their phone and like that's how they pay for their Starbucks? Well, we're going to model the same thing with Burn Bucks, except for this rewards program is going to drive, it's going to incentivize and enable the behaviors that we want our members to take. Okay, so every time they do something that we want them to do, they're going to get incentivized by it. It's going to be a money machine. That's the theory. Okay, so basically, so you go, hey, a focus meeting, you get 0.25 burn bucks. And burn bucks are only, you can only use them on the e-com shop, which is now your own location, site, store, in the app right here on this tab. This tab here. You'll have a store. People just click the store and they'll be able to shop all the stuff that you have. And you have to do nothing in the middle. That is a rewards program. You'll feed Keep Moving Club into that, because that's a problem. You'll feed referral rewards, and that being a measurement and a behavior that we want to track. You'll feed in PRs, when somebody makes a post on their community group, when somebody tags, when somebody shares. Everything that we want them to do is going to add up to some bucks that they can use in their account center on this side, right? That says, hey, you now have $42.42 in burn bucks. Would you like to apply this to the shop now? And so then, it's going to be driving in-app purchases for you guys as well. That's this right here. This is MVP. July 2023. I'm going to show it to you.
Minimum viable product.
Oh, I'm sorry. MVP. It's the bare minimum that would be needed to add value to make a return on my investment. That's a good way to put it. So from there, then we'll have sprint development, which a feature will roll out basically every 2 weeks, and we'll just keep compounding, keep stacking. We're hiring an in-house FTE app developer who will be building it and doing the governance on it, which is maintaining the master records of all of our members and et cetera.
Is there a place on there too that you can store like notes from your meetings and all that? Like I know I see that, but that you said it was a chat box.
Yeah, chat/note. Yeah, it'll have all those logging functionalities in it. You might have like, let's say, you might have some word might be highlighted in there, and that references that you can tap, and it pulls you back into, let's say, your running meeting notes. But this is like a real-time one, and then you might have like running meeting notes somewhere down here. And really, this is what you're interested in, I think, and that's this just says PR, but it could really say anything. Just populating those graphs so that there's something to talk about when we sit down, right? And that's really what it's about, is storing all the communication, but keeping focused on that. You can recall it anytime you want, but to me, this is more like a back and forth text message, like a constant and never-ending communication.
And there could be more than two people, because what we're running into is like sitting down and saying, oh, so what was done at your last focus meeting? Because there's not an ongoing.
Yeah, behind the scenes, which is really interesting. So you know our check-in app that MindBody has, that you guys use as iPads? Yeah. Okay, we have to rewrite that app. And rewriting that app is going to include like a back end for you, because there's going to be features of this that you guys are going to have to control, right? And you're going to have to decide when you want to turn on and turn off nutrition coaching. Let's say if you're not ready to roll that out in your gym yet, don't offer it yet in participating locations only. You're not going to have a choice on the e-com store.
Nutrition coaching is going to be at the individual level or from you guys?
The end goal would be to unlock it and have AI feed the meal plan based on information that we get: height, weight, gender, ethnicity, body type, like all these questions that can basically say there's 20 foods that that we eat, right? So it's not that complex of a math problem to say, all right, here's these 20 foods and all these different combinations. Here's this person. Here's their biometrics. Here's their goal, right? Here's my time. Here's maybe some information numerically that I want to enter in. All right, then go, and my meal plan is just a math equation at that point. And it's basically telling people exactly what to eat, and that's what people want. Just tell me what, look at the members that go, just tell me what to eat. Good, for $130 a month, you can unlock this screen and you'll do it. Now, let's say for whatever reason, impossible is not the word, but we can do anything with enough time and enough money. If we don't have enough time and we don't have enough money, there may be a human element to that as well, and there likely will be a human element to it. But I feel like the human element will have a lot to do with your trainers in this chat box right here and just having real-time accountability. Because isn't that what we all want? Just somebody to be like, hey, you told me you were going to do your meal plan this week. Did you do it? Like I feel like there's a lot of value in that. And so what we're selling, if we sell confidence in the gym, we're selling accountability with the meal planning. So
And so you see that our trainers should have like a nutrition certificate or something that kind of help?
that could definitely help, and it could separate them as an employee. Are we going to require that? No.
No, but it will be something good if you're
Yes.
I like that. They can then, because they're going to want to talk to that trainer that's in the gym, right? So I think they're going to want to like bounce some things off them. So I just think that would be.
There definitely will be a human element to it. What I want to try to eliminate with AI is just them writing meal plans. Right, and you even give them in our model. You can allocate incentives to people. So John Metzger's pilot testing this right now. Only he's doing it in the human sense. The alpha was just to determine if there's market viability. So I don't need all the technology and to build it all, and I actually don't want to build it all if John doesn't. No, I'm not putting it all on John. It's unfair. Sorry, John. I'm not putting it all on you. But if it doesn't work and people aren't buying it in the gym, maybe we second guess it a little bit. So I'm just trying to inform my decision. But Lane Norton's app crushes it, and he's the fat loss guy, the burn fat faster guy, the Lane Norton guy. He's got an AI-driven meal planning app, and it kills. So we're way bigger with way more resources. So I just.
But you see it's still having like in-body scans and like still doing some of that body diagnostics.
So that translates to a different conversation. I think over time. Over time, it's not going to be immediate, but over time, those big bulky machines, those are going to go out of style because these are now here. And now that I have a Whoop on my hand and I can charge a subscription for that Whoop and a monthly EFT, that's way less expensive on entry, right? You don't have to spend $6,000 or whatever it is to buy one of those machines. Great machines, but this does all that and more for like $30 a month, right? So my future vision for wearable technology, and this is in our 36-month roadmap, way toward the end in like late 2025, is to create a partnership and a revenue split share with Whoop for you guys, where you take one, they take two, we take back seat, we take royalties, and you're able to sell this technology with the blue band with the burn on it at scale. Now, if that doesn't work, then we'll build our own. And I'm too far away to know exactly what that is right now, but I know that the future of our biometric or whatever tech or wearable tech whatever tech that we use to help members achieve their results, it's definitely trending toward lightweight wearables and away from like eVolts and what's the other one? InBody. They had their day, they did, and I think they're just going to be their business model is going to get clobbered by things like this. Right, because Whoop's giving these to you. If you buy a subscription, here you go. They're handing them out like candy. So, and remember, all this stuff, it's going to take time, but I'm going to need to coach you guys really, really well, and the team's going to need to prepare you to roll these things out, which is why there's an MVP. So it's like simple and not so complex for the first 90 days. Like, let's just get our booking feature right, and let's just make sure everybody knows how the new payment structure works and how you're going to use point of sale on app and how there's going to be people in app that are going to be subscribing to things and hitting your email list that you need to account for. The business model itself has some like fundamental tweaks in it that are all going to be like set up one time and then automate for scale, but there will be some of that. So we need to anticipate that and roll out one feature at a time, let it breathe. Roll out another feature, let it breathe. Rolling it all out at once is not going to happen. So we'll roll out meals and live stream as the first, and that's my goal as the MVP, as from a revenue perspective. Shortly after that, you're going to get nutrition EFTs in your store. So people are going to be able to turn on auto ship, and they're going to be able to buy all of your nutrition, all of your supplement products, and your meals on auto ship. And you're going to make about 25% margins on that. We've already done all the back work, which is going to crush D2C, which is sometimes why I think about the food business and I'm like, good, make sure it's smart. Because just like InBody's going to get crushed by this, the D2C, as soon as dry ice gets cheaper, which it is, and smaller and more compact, that business is going to really compete with like the brick and mortar meal preps, the Clean Eats of the world, and things like that. So what we're trying to do is build a business that's enduring for the future, that has everything out in front for you that you could need in a fitness and nutrition ecosystem that would allow you to, that would allow members to have a one-stop shop at your location. And if on average, we should have the best economics in our industry, hands down, or OTF's number 1 right now, we're about number 7 from my calculations. 5 to 7, just depends on how you want to look at it. So that top spot is the rocket ship model away, I think. And so now I'm over. Cool. 2 claps on 2. 1, 2. Thank you all.